This is Srinath here from Motilal Oswal AMC. Welcome back to our discussion on cutting edge investment frameworks. To better understand this part, don't miss the first part, the description of link for which is in the description. Only then will you understand this part. So please watch the first part and then come back again for this part. Okay, so let's continue with our discussion on frameworks. We discussed quality frameworks in the first part. We'll now be discussing growth, longevity, and price frameworks. So we are calling it Cutting Edge Investment Frameworks Part 2, Time-Tested Concepts for Investing Success. As I said, we have discussed quality frameworks already. Now we'll discuss frameworks on growth, longevity, and price. So having covered quality, we came up with the link between quality and growth in one of our wealth creation studies. Okay, and this is the key grid of quality and growth, what we call the quality growth matrix. On the x-axis we have quality, on the y-axis we have growth, and this gives us 4 combinations. Okay, so the first quadrant is quality low and growth low. These are obvious wealth destroyers. So these are obvious, and hence it can be easily ignored by the investors. But the other 2 quadrants are tricky. Quality is high and growth is low. These are what we call quality traps. Companies like Colgate, for example, or Castrol, very high in quality, but very low growth because of fully penetration. And in Castrol also, you have 2-3% growth only. Okay, so these are what are called quality traps, and they will typically underperform the market. Then the other quadrant is low quality and high growth. These are what we call growth traps. Such companies will have very high growth for a very short time before collapsing. So companies like Unitech in the reality industry, for example, growth very fast, but then due to lack of quality, the business collapses and then investors get stuck at virtually zero. So growth traps need to be avoided. So the actual quadrant to be focused on is true wealth creators, which is quality is high and growth is high. So that is the focus quadrant for us. We look for both high quality and high growth. So the key message is look for both quality and growth, not just one. And we have some frameworks for growth as well. So the key framework for us is what we call the NTD opportunity. NTD stands for Next Trillion Dollar of GDP, India's GDP. So the key graph here is something like this. It took India 60 years, almost 60 years, for its first $1 trillion of GDP. Okay, I am assuming you understand GDP and $1 trillion. So it took India 60 years for its first $1 trillion of GDP. After that, every next $1 trillion of GDP came in successively lesser number of years. So first trillion took 60 years, second trillion took 7 years, third trillion took around the same time, 7-8 years, and then the third and the fourth will come in even shorter time. So that is the next $1 trillion opportunity. This suggests that India is going to be a growth market for a long, long time to come. Okay, the key message is India is a growth market for a long, long time. And then there is a related framework for this. Exponential opportunity in discretionaries. Discretionary means not your normal day-to-day consumption. So this is when income rises. Okay, let me show you a graph for this. It's like this. When your per capita GDP is $1,000 or 1,000 rupees, you can take it either way. 900 of it will go into basic spending. Roti, kapda, makan, food, clothing, and shelter. That will take the basic. 90% of the income will go in basic expenditure. Leaving only 100 for discretionaries. These discretionaries are like entertainment, okay, vehicles, ACs, etc. These are discretionary spending. These are not necessarily necessary to be incurred for your day-to-day living. Okay, so that leaves only 100 for your discretionaries. When per capita GDP doubles from $1,000 to $2,000, then basic spending doesn't increase in the same proportion. Basic spending may go up from 900 to 1,000, for example, leaving the whole balance 1,000 for discretionary spends. So doubling of per capita GDP leads to a 10 times opportunity in discretionary spends. So as per capita GDP increases, you don't consume more rice, wheat, salt, etc. So the amount left for is what you use for transportation, to buy a two-wheeler or a car or an AC or a house. So that's what discretionary spending is all about. So doubling of per capita GDP leads to 10 times opportunity in discretionary. So focus on discretionary sectors. That is where the growth and the opportunity lies. So look for discretionary plays like cars, white goods, jewelry, etc. That is where the growth is. So what we call winner categories and category winners. Again, a related framework based on the previous framework. Winner categories are businesses where there is scalability, which means growth, and consolidation. Consolidation means fewer number of players. So that the benefit of the growth is enjoyed by few players. That is where winner categories come. And then we have category winners. That is companies in the winner categories with great managements. They are the category winners. And finally, great investments are category winners available at reasonable values. So this is the framework: winner categories, category winners, and great investments. So sample of winner categories is like this. On the x-axis, we have industry growth, which can be low, medium, and high. And on the y-axis, we have industry consolidation, which is number of players, low, medium, and high. High consolidation means fewer number of players, and low consolidation means too many players. So we plot the various sectors on this matrix, and the shaded portion are the sectors where we focus on. So this is just a sample, but I'm saying this is what we do to identify which sectors to focus on, where growth should be medium or high, and consolidation also should be medium or high. Then there are other growth frameworks apart from what we've already discussed. So power of industry tailwind. Tailwind means the growth wave in an industry. This term comes from the airline sector, where it's called headwind or tailwind. If an aircraft gets a tailwind, then it reaches its destination faster. And if it encounters headwind, then it reaches its destination slower. So industry tailwind means the power of growth in an industry. So for example, mortgage or housing finance, organized retail, insurance, airlines, asset management companies, all these industries have a tailwind. There is a natural growth which is boosting the sector. So we look for sectors with a tailwind. Then we look for companies where the base is small, but the opportunity is huge. Okay, so for example, AU Small Finance Bank in the private banking space. Private banking space is a huge opportunity, and AU Small Finance Bank is starting small. So the growth runway for AU Finance is very high. So we focus on such growth situations. And finally, there is opportunity for inorganic growth. Companies can acquire other companies or merge with other companies to grow when organic growth is not possible. So classic example here is Motherson Sumi, for example. Much of its growth has come through acquisitions both in India and overseas. So that's another way of growing. So we look for companies where inorganic growth is possible. So those were some of the growth frameworks. Next we come to longevity. Longevity, as we discussed earlier, stands for extension of growth and quality. That is longevity. That's what it's all about. So a couple of frameworks here. So a powerful behavioral framework for longevity is this. To make money in stocks, you must have the vision to see, the courage to buy, and the patience to hold. Patience is what longevity is all about. Okay, patience is the rarest of the three. This quote comes from a book called 100 to 1 in the stock market, which talks about how stocks go from 1 to 100. That's what is. So for that to happen, you need patience. And patience means seeing the business over the long term. The other part of longevity is the power of compounding. Okay, longer the period, exponentially higher the multiple. Okay, what does it mean? What happens to 1 rupee for a given rate and period is what this table says all about. So 1 rupee invested at 10%, for example, for 10 years at 25%, you get 9.3. Okay, and the same 1 rupee invested at the same 25%, but for 30 years gives 808. Okay, so difference between number of years is 10 and 30, that is 3 times, but the actual output is 87 times higher. So that is the power of holding investments for a longer period. You just allow the power of compounding to help give you superior returns. And finally, we have some price frameworks. Okay. So price or valuation frameworks. So one of them is called payback ratio, which is market cap divided by the next 5 years of PAT. This is a ratio developed by Motilal Oswal ourselves. So we look at market cap and divide it by the next 5 years expected profit after tax. Obviously, lower the ratio, the better. And less than 1 times, that is, if market cap is lower than the next 5 years PAT, then it's almost a sure shot formula for multi-bag. But such cases are rare. But whenever you find such cases, you must really invest in a big way, because you are surely likely to get a multi-bag. And similar to payback ratio, we have another ratio of our own, not our own, which is quite popular ratio. Payback ratio is our own. The other similar ratio is called PEG, P to growth. That is trailing 12 months P divided by the future growth. Obviously, like the earlier one, lower the ratio, the better. And if PEG is less than 1, it significantly improves the chance of wealth creation. So these are the 2 of the many other frameworks, but these 2 are kind of increasingly popular with us: payback ratio and PEG. So we've looked at quality frameworks in the first part. We looked at growth, longevity, and price frameworks in this part. So in closing, we say that building an armory of investment frameworks offers significant analytical and behavioral edge in the market. Investment frameworks accumulate over time through wide-ranging reading and reflection. Okay, so you need to read various kind of management and investment books to develop your own investment frameworks. Then a proprietary investment framework is most valuable. If you develop the framework on your own, it is the most valuable because it can't be easily replicated by competition. So you have an edge in the market. And finally, at Motilal Oswal AMC, we believe our investment framework, which is QGLP, and its continuous improvement will help us deliver superior sustained performance. So thank you, and happy investing using frameworks.